What's going on, everyone? So, talked about Rui Hachimura in the last kind of player breakdown video. I want to talk about Jarred Vanderbilt in this video. Jarred Vanderbilt's the guy that I am maybe not the most excited for, but he's up there as one of the players I'm most excited for several reasons, right? Last year, he was the most versatile defensive player in all of basketball. Not my opinion. That was literally a statistical fact. Did an entire video breaking it down. Brendan McBasketball, he did the whole thing. I did the video on it. Go check that video out. But Jarred Vanderbilt was the most versatile defensive player. And that was with him clearly being a little step behind, not quite himself. Right? And it was unfortunate. Now, anytime I talk about Jarred Vanderbilt, I get comments from people that are like, oh, we hear this every year. Except we don't, right? Because we traded for Jarred Vanderbilt. He's really good for us. Lakers made the conference finals. We're immediately the best defense in all of basketball, Jarred Vanderbilt and Anthony Davis. Then the next year, he's working on his game in the offseason. That's the whole thing. Like, hey, this guy's about to, take over the world with the shooting, right? We got one game in which he was 3 of 5 from three-point range, and then he gets hurt. And he struggled with injuries the entire season. Then, last offseason, not this offseason, the previous offseason, he ended up having double foot surgery. Right? So, we didn't get an offseason. We didn't get him working on his game. And then he went from double foot surgery and learning how to essentially walk again to playing basketball and still being our best defensive player. Right? Now he's going to have a full training camp, a full offseason, a full preseason, and a full regular season to kind of get back and hone in. I've also talked about in the past, Jarred Vanderbilt on the strong side corner, so the right side. Right? He is about 36% from three-point range. Right? The season that we traded for him, he was actually 37 and some change. But he's a guy that if we can kind of, focus on that end, that corner, the strong side, which is the small forward side. If you can kind of focus on that end and get him more looks there, I think that could increase his three-point percentage. You also see him taking most of his reps in that corner. He has been taking a lot in the weak side corner, basically the corner. His worst three-point shot is above the break, right? So you kind of want to keep him in the corners, which is also the shortest distance shooting the three ball. So that if you can kind of keep him in that. He's also been working on his hands and his movement and stuff like that. Because that's the other thing is him finishing around the rim. A lot of times he'll, have butterfingers or he won't finish, around the rim or whatnot. And with Luka, because Jarred Vanderbilt is an excellent mover without the basketball. He's really great as that slip guy. He's really great at crashing off the corners, all of that on the defense side of the ball, grabbing rebounds, and then on the offense side of the ball, just being that backdoor cutter. Right? So if he can be a better job of finishing and closing out around the rim, then I think that he could be a huge difference maker for the Lakers. Because, for, the last few seasons, we've talked about, Jarred Vanderbilt's just like a serviceable offensive game. Not even like a great elite, crossing dudes up and taking them to the rim like Lamar Odom style basketball. If he's just like, we are literally just like a serviceable, can he be like 34% from three-point range and just finish at the rim a little better from being like the premier 3-and-D guy in all of basketball, right? And so if he can kind of solve some of those things, doesn't it just be around league average from three-point range to where teams have to at least challenge it. And then if he can get back to being that like, dude, this guy is the best defensive player in basketball, like our best perimeter defensive player in basketball, right? Like, dude, this sky's the limit. Talk about a guy that could win defensive player of the year even. Problem is you got Wemby now. Wemby probably wins it every year except for the years that the league just gets voter fatigue. But he's one of those guys that'll be in the conversation or has the potential to be in that conversation. Again, pick your favorite player, whoever it is. Pick your favorite player and then look up their stats versus Jarred Vanderbilt as the primary defender. It is astonishing. The numbers almost look fake at times, like the drop-off and the drastic drop-offs. Go watch that Warriors series. We talked about it during that time. It's like Jarred Vanderbilt was teleporting, instant transmission, right? Just transporting all over the rim or all over the court. God, words are hard, right? that's the thing. Like his ability to defend literally 1 through 5, his ability to challenge at the rim, his ability to guard, quick-footed guys to physical guys, and he has the size and length to smother and swarm, right? Like he is a guy that could be incredibly impactful for this Lakers team. The other side of this too is we saw with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, him getting played off the court because the lack of offensive game. With Luka Doncic, his lack of offensive game, which again, I'm hoping improves, but his lack of offensive game won't be as harmful because Luka Doncic doesn't mind the traffic, right? When Jarred Vanderbilt was in the game, teams would just sag off of him, pack the paint, which is a problem for Anthony Davis, who wants to operate in the paint, and LeBron James, who ideally wants to put his head down, drive to the basket, finish at the rim. Right? So it's hard to have a guy that can't shoot out there when your 2 primary scoring options, your 2 superstars, need the paint as open as possible. Now, LeBron James still wants that ideally, but he's been a much better 3-point shooter the last few seasons, and I imagine is going to continue to work on that and pick that up. So if he can kind of continue to be a good 3-point shooter, Jarred Vanderbilt won't be as much of a liability. But also Luka Doncic, he doesn't mind the traffic, because he's a jump shooter. He can shoot over the top, right? He can get to his spots. He's comfortable with the, collapse of the defense and then kick out to the lob threat or kick out to the shooter, right? Jarred Vanderbilt, obviously you want some offensive versatility, some capability of knocking down the 3 ball, but it's not like you can play Jarred Vanderbilt more than you could have with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, because again, you watch Anthony Davis, what does AD like to do? He likes to get in that triple threat action, right? And then either take a guy to the basket, put him in the rim, or just kind of spot up. Yeah, he can shoot over the top. I'm not saying him and LeBron can't shoot over the top, but they're not really these jump shooters, right? They're trying to operate, Anthony Davis trying to get his little floater in that 8-foot range. He's trying, the type of games that LeBron and AD want to play is not what a guy like Luka Doncic is. Where like Jaden McDaniels isn't this like lights out 3-point shooter, but he works because you have Anthony Edwards, who can be a jump shooter and can shoot the 3 and, can get to his spots and operate in the mid range and shoot over the top. So, you can't just like sag off and things like that because, you have Anthony Edwards who could just shoot over everybody, right? You have a guy in Luka Doncic that could do a lot of those same things. So a lot of the concerns of Jarred Vanderbilt won't be as high, won't be as apparent as they were in previous years. Now it's obviously up to Jarred Vanderbilt to show that improvement, show that footing that he seemed to kind of lack a little bit last season. Then obviously JJ Redick, believing in him enough, right, to where last year they were trying to monitor his minutes. He's kind of in this weird return spot where now I think he'll be able to really kind of show that. Excellent rebounder, right, good nose for the basketball. He also helps create advantage opportunities from second chance points, right? Getting offensive rebounds to creating turnovers, whether they're live ball turnovers or just, regular turnovers. All of these things help generate the offense, help elevate the ceiling. He's a guy that I even would love to see the Lakers start. Even if he doesn't improve shooting the 3 ball, I'm totally okay with them just starting him because I think you have enough offense in your starting unit that Jarred Vanderbilt, he can kind of make up and kind of cover a lot of those things. Jarred Vanderbilt's still very young too. He's 26. He won't be 27 till basically the end of the season, early April, right? So getting into the playoffs and stuff like that, so Jarred Vanderbilt's still a guy that you could have long-term. He's still got a couple years on his deal, and he's still cheap, but he's a guy that you could have even beyond this contract and still be a foundation piece, especially if he can continue to improve. The big thing with Jarred Vanderbilt is just, can he stay healthy? Right? Like, that's the biggest knock, concern, and question with him, because you look at, like, the last few years, right? Now, the year he got traded, right? So he had 2 straight years in which he played 74 games, 78 games. That's great. Right? The year that he got traded to the Lakers was the year he played 78 games, which was the most of his career. Right? But you look, since then, it's like 29 games, 36 games. Right? Can he get back closer to those 74, 78 games and then show that improvement on the offensive side of things? That could be huge. Right? Like, No, he's a guy like with the Lakers, when the Lakers traded for him, he was 7 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals, and half a block. Right? That's perfect. In 24 minutes of action, he did that, by the way. Right? Like, that's perfect. You don't need him to be anything crazy. You don't need him to be anything more than that. That season, his per 36 would have been 11 and 10 with 2.5 assists, 2 steals, and half a block. Right? Like, you just need a guy in Jarred Vanderbilt who can be that defensive versatile stopper, be that guy that can defend multiple positions, be that guy that can do the hustle plays, make the dirty work. I mean, just imagine him and Marcus Smart defensively, especially if Marcus Smart can kind of get back into his own. Did a video on Marcus Smart. But if Marcus Smart can kind of get back in, I'm not saying necessarily the defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, but no, he still was really good with Memphis defensively. If he can kind of be that good defensive piece, you have him, Jarred Vanderbilt. I mean, you could have an entire defensive unit out there, right? Jake LaRavia was a B+ rated defender. He himself said that the thing that he worked on the most this offseason was his defense. So if that's true, you could have units out there where it's like Gabe Vincent, maybe Marcus Smart, Jarred Vanderbilt, have a Jake LaRavia, and, even you go small ball and have like maybe LeBron at the 5 to where he's kind of the playmaker in the post. You could even do creative things where you have like you could go Marcus Smart at the point, have Jarred Vanderbilt at the 2, have Luka Doncic at the 3, with Jake LaRavia at the 4 and DeAndre Ayton at the 5, right? And then so now you have Jarred Vanderbilt and Marcus Smart on defensive purposes. They're the ones that are being that aggressive point of attack. Luka Doncic is operating as that kind of point forward, right? It's just like you run Luka the way you run LeBron, right? The beauty of LeBron is you could slot LeBron at the 3, you could slot LeBron at the 4, and he can be that point forward. All you're asking Marcus Smart to do is just bring the ball up, initiate, and get you in your action. So now you got those defensive pieces, Jake LaRavia out there. So on offense, Luka still has the ball on the top of the key. He's still your point guard, right? And then you have Marcus Smart, Jarred Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, and DeAndre Ayton, right, slotted into their positions. But on defense, you just have Luka drop to the 3. You have Jarred Vanderbilt slide on over to the 2, and then Marcus Smart slide over to the point. Now you have that defensive versatile attack point, right? Like, the Jarred Vanderbilt unlocks and opens so much potential for this team. He's a guy that could be, seriously, could be a major X factor for this Lakers team if he can stay healthy, if he can get back to the defensive level that we saw when we originally traded for him. And then also, if he can have kind of a bit of an uptick on the offensive side of things. Again, not asking him to be a superstar or anything like that offensively, but just be serviceable enough to where you're punishing teams that are neglecting him. You're punishing teams that aren't kind of watching him and keeping an eye on him, right? Those are the kind of things. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.